That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? My goodness, it's almost May. Once we're in May, we're talking about Superman only being 2 months away. We're getting close. Getting close to being able to say Superman is 2 months away. My most anticipated film of the year. Cannot wait for it. However, for those of you who follow the news and all that kind of stuff very closely, and we did mention this a couple of months ago, but we haven't followed up on it. There has been an ongoing lawsuit, for those of you who don't know, between one of the relatives of one of the original Superman creators against Warner Brothers, claiming that Warner Brothers didn't have certain international territory rights to the Superman story they're doing, and thus would not be able to release the film in a number of big territories. And that's been ongoing and kind of hanging over everybody's head. As a matter of fact, we've had a couple of our own viewers, whenever we've brought up Superman the last number of weeks, so people saying, I don't know, how you feeling about that lawsuit? Like, well, the lawsuit is now done, and Warner Brothers has emerged triumphant as the outlets are reporting that federal judge seals the fate of James Gunn's Superman after legal battle. This is in Warner Brothers' favor. They wrote the following. Superman is widely expected to become one of the biggest movies of the year. I don't think it will be, but we'll talk about that later, when it flies into theaters this summer. However, a recent lawsuit puts the film's release in select countries, including the United Kingdom, Canada, and others, into question. Those are major markets where having a theatrical run is vital to the DCU project's box office prospects. Fortunately for Warner Brothers, a judge has ruled in their favor and sealed the fate of James Gunn's DC superhero film. As reported by Bloomberg, a federal judge has dismissed the case between Warner Brothers and Warren Perry, the nephew of Superman co-creator Joseph Shuster. The estate of the late Shuster alleged that the studio did not have the rights to release the film in select territories due to an apparent lack of foreign copyrights to the original comic book storyline. With this ruling, Superman will be able to be released in theaters without a hitch in key markets such as the United Kingdom, Canada, Ireland, and Australia. Suffice to say, the Kryptonian hero won't have to resort to staying in his fortress of solitude. That was a terrible way to end that thing. I would fire that
They were
writer
just
immediately.
itching for a pun. They're like, I gotta fit one at the end here.
All right. So, first of all, good for them. I mean, there was some. Listen, if the judge had found that the assertions that the plaintiffs had held validity, there was a very real danger that several major markets would not be allowed. I don't think the United States was in question, but several major markets would be allowed. Now, you suddenly take those away, and the fact that it may not be able to play in China, given all the Terraforce stuff that's going on, that would be a real blow to this Superman movie. Now, do I think Superman, and you guys know we talk about this all the time, do I think Superman is going to be a massive blockbuster hit? I do not. I mean, I think it'll make money, but with all the baggage that comes along with it, a completely run into the grave DCEU that was just utterly ruined. The fact that a lot of people didn't like Superman lately, even though I think he was the greatest Superman of all time. Henry Cavill, my boy Henry. Mm-hmm. And I love Man of Steel. I still contend it is the most underrated comic book film of all time. But with all that, and it's the start of another, there's some apprehension, there's a lot of baggage coming along with it. See, the main job, I've said this before, of this Superman movie is not for it to become a big box office hit. The job of this Superman movie is to be awesome, change the perception, and set a positive perception of the new DCU so that future DC movies can be big blockbusters. Because if this movie sucks, God help Supergirl. That movie's going to have Supergirl's going to have a real hard time at the box office if this Superman movie is not a hit. But guess what? If this Superman movie is great and the audiences love it and the critics love it and it does decent at the box office, that will bode very well, because now the narrative changes from DC's been run into the ground to DC is back. Now, some people can say, well, with James Gunn there and the making of Superman, it's already back. DC is not back until they put out a movie that people love. It ain't back until they put out a movie that people love. So that's the job of Superman. So I still don't believe Superman's going to be $1 billion film. I think Warner Brothers understands this and knows it. I think if Superman can make 600 million, they will be popping bottles in Burbank. They will be popping bottles in Burbank if they make 600 million. Why? Because they'll know that they just made their prospects of future hits 1,000 times higher. 1,000 times higher. Somebody asked me, John, do you think Warner Brothers would rather have Superman not be very good but make $1 billion, or Superman be great and make 500 million? I said, unless you're a moron, you want Superman to be great and make 500 million, because now you can make 10 billion over the next 15 films. But you drop the ball now, you're dead. And listen, that's why this lawsuit is still important, because if you want the word to get out there that Superman is really good, number one, you got to make the movie good. So hopefully they did that. But it's got to play internationally. It's got to play around the world. People in Australia, Ireland, Canada, UK, they're not going to know Superman's back unless it can actually play in their theaters. So it's a pretty big thing regardless. So, I mean, good for Warner Brothers. This is a major win for them. This thing had been kind of hanging over their heads a little bit. And to have this all cleared up now they can just focus on moving forward and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. It is what it is.
I remember when Endgame, before Endgame came out, I was on YouTube and I was watching like reactions to the trailers. And I remember there was like one of my favorite ones was all reactors from China, like reacting to, and just to see the amount of Captain America gear they had in the rooms and Spider-Man gear. I think it's very important for this character to reach like those levels in order for it to be that $1 billion thing, because you'll get the love from the U.S. Superman is a U.S. But in some areas, I don't think this character is loved as much as Captain America. I was shocked to see people in China like having the Captain America mask and reacting and like being so into the character, especially because it's of the character's name. I don't mean to get any, like into any like thing, but it is Captain America, right? So it's just really cool to see a character like that reach beyond the U.S. and people love the character for what it stands for.
Yeah. So Superman, I think hasn't. It's either been there and just faded away, or it's never been there. I believe what I'm trying to say is international. It is very important for DC to reach those territories. Well, yeah, especially if they want the DCU to have long-term success. And again, for the people who would say to me, no, Superman's got to be $1 billion film. Yes. If you're really short-sighted and all you're thinking is about your next move, then yes, you want Superman to be $1 billion film. You think it's important that Superman is $1 billion film. However, if you think big picture and you're not worried about the extra 300 or 400 million you can make on this movie, you're more focused on the extra 7, 8, or 9 billion you can make over the next 6, 7, 8, 9 years, then you understand that. Now, of course, would Warner Brothers like it to be $1 billion film? Of course they would, obviously. But again, in the scenario, would Warner Brothers rather have a Superman movie that gets lukewarm reception but made $1 billion, or gets rave reception and makes 500 million? Well, obviously they would like both. They would like the rave reception and the billion. But if Warner Brothers had to pick between the two, 7 days a week, they pick rave reception from the audiences and the critics and $500 million, because then you can build on that. If you got a lukewarm movie, you ain't building on nothing. So it's a difference between being short-sighted and looking small picture and short-sighted, or being big picture focused. And Warner Brothers is going to be big picture focused on this. Anyway, guys, question is for you. In order for any of that to have meaning, it's got to play in theaters. And now it's been cleared. A judge has ruled and thrown out the case against Warner Brothers so that Superman can play in all the international territories. How big of a deal do you think that is? I think it's rather significant. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.